Joan Esposito, live.
Celebrating our power to bring about change.
Local.
Everybody has to work together.
And progressive.
I think you get the idea.
On WCPT 820.
Few people worked harder on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz than former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh, who was one of the leading Republicans for Harris, out talking to folks, making the argument that there was an election that was bigger than party. Joe joins us now. How are you doing, Joe?
Exhausted, but Joan, it's good to be with you, but I failed. You're right. For 3 months, I spent practically every day in one battleground state or another, pleading with people to care about things like democracy and the rule of law and truth and decency. But I failed. Trump won fairly convincingly, and now we have to live with these consequences.
I played at the beginning of the show today something you posted on social media where you said that this is now no longer a MAGA cult. What we have here is the Republican Party, and that it will be with us for a long time. What can we do about that?
I'm sorry. Yeah, again, like in 2016, everybody was surprised, and we had this little MAGA cult. Joan, it's grown well beyond that. Trump ran a campaign of fear and hate, and he was able to scare people and appeal to people's hate well beyond his base. And so I think the country needs to now come to grips with the fact that this Republican Party, Trumpism and MAGA, is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's a full-fledged party, and it's attracting more people to its message of intolerance and fear, and that should concern us.
Okay, but what about the argument that we had people who were being misinformed by a lot of right-wing media? We had people, this sort of, I was an immigrant, but now I'm a citizen now, so I'm like really American, and I hate those other immigrants. They're not me. Do you think if we sit back, you're right, the people voted for Donald Trump, they must want mass deportations. They must want RFK Jr. making vaccines more and more difficult to get. They must want this world. So maybe, and I'm going to sound a little cranky here, but maybe, Joe, we just let them have it.
Oh, Joan, I agree with that. I actually do agree with that. Because I spent every day of this campaign out there trying to persuade them about the dangers of Trumpism, the consequences. I couldn't persuade enough. So I agree with you. Now, I guess they're going to have to experience the consequences of Trumpism, and maybe that's the only thing that can persuade them. Look, half of Trump's supporters believe in all this bad stuff. They believe in it. And half of his supporters believe that January 6th was a good day, and half of his supporters want Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General. But the other half don't care. They really don't. And they would tell me, Joan, every day, I know Trump's a bad guy. I know, he'll never accept the results of the election, but I don't care, Joe, because I care about the border. I care about my stock portfolio. I care about this or that. Those people are every bit as responsible. They're the ones, I think, who will be in shock, right? Deport everybody in this country illegally. Easy to say. Okay, put faces on 15 to 20 million people. That's going to change people.
I'm so tired of hearing, well, they're not going to deport me because I'm a good immigrant. Really? We'll just see how that works out for you in the future. And the other argument that anybody who lived through 2016 should never have made, Oh, he doesn't really mean it, Joe. That's just Trump being Trump. Really? Okay. Matt Gaetz? Bobby Kennedy Jr.? Tulsi Gabbard? Okay.
No, this is hello, America. Get ready, babe, because when he first got elected look, Trump's an idiot, but when he first got elected in 2016, he didn't know what he was doing. And so the first two, he was basically incompetent for 4 years. Mm-hmm. That ain't going to be the problem now. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he wants to go after our Justice Department. He wants to go after our intelligence community. He wants to go after the military. I mean, he's going to do everything. He's going to try to do everything, and there are no guardrails. He's unchained. And, Joan, I agree with you. You know what? I fought. So many of us gave this campaign everything. Okay, you got the government you wanted. You got the government you deserve.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the Republicans in the Senate are going to roll over and let him make all these appointments without any confirmation hearings, as he's told them he wants? And to me, it's one thing to say this and then to appoint people, maybe Marco Rubio, I don't think much of him. I don't expect much of him. I think he's like a placeholder human being. But, if it was people like that, but it's almost like, I want you to go into recess so I can make these appointments. And, oh, by the way, wait till you hear who I'm going to make you swallow. I'm going to make you swallow Tulsi Gabbard as intelligence. I'm going to make you swallow Matt Gaetz as head of the DOJ. I'm going to make you swallow Bobby Kennedy Jr. in charge of Health and Human Services. It's like he stabbed them, and then he took the knife out so he could pour salt into the wound. Do you think they are going to insist on confirmation hearings, or are they just going to roll over?
Well, they're going to roll over regardless. If any of these people, Joan, get to a vote, they will all be approved. Privately, there are plenty of Republicans in the House and Senate who are aghast and disgusted with Gaetz and Hegseth and Gabbard and Kennedy Jr. And so what they might try to do is circumvent the nomination, like just throw out a bunch of crap about each one of these people, which is very easy to do, to try to get Trump to drop the nomination before a vote. But if any of these people get to the vote, they're all going to be approved, because this thing again made clear, look, Joan, a lot of Republicans in Congress didn't want Trump to win. He won. The party is his now. He's been validated. So they will all line up behind him. They will never not vote for his nominees. So
you think that they might just leak information, they've been asked, even though he resigned from Congress, to put the ethics investigation to bed, asking, because Dick Durbin, but he's a Democrat, said, I'd really like to see that report. I'd really like to see what that investigation found. We understand he's resigned from Congress and nothing's going to happen, but I think we should have access to that information. Is that what you see happening?
Yeah, Joan, as someone who publicly stood up against Trump 6 years ago and took a blowtorch to my career, the story of this era is Republican cowardice, because most Republicans privately felt the way I expressed about Trump publicly, but they didn't have the courage to say it. Same thing here. None of these Republicans will have the courage to say, oh, my God, no way will we approve of Gaetz or Kennedy Jr. or any of them. So what they'll try to do is privately and quietly leak bad stuff about them day after day after day the next month or so, to try to just get Trump to drop one of these nominees. But they won't do it publicly because they're cowards.
Do you think Trump cares? I mean, Trump already knows these people. He knows these are flawed human beings. I mean, it isn't a secret that Tulsi Gabbard is good friends with Putin. It isn't a secret that a 17-year-old told a congressional committee that Matt Gaetz had sex with her. These are not secrets. What the heck can they link? What can they leak that could possibly embarrass Trump?
So do I think Trump cares? No. And I want to just isolate one of them, Joan, because I have said publicly now, ever since January 6th, that Donald Trump is a traitor to this country. And I mean that. Think about what Trump just did. You said that he picked Tulsi Gabbard, who would be in charge of our nation's intelligence. You said she's Putin friendly. I'll do you one better than that. I think she's a Russian asset. You look at her history the last 8 or 9 years, she is a Russian asset. So Donald Trump just put in charge of our intelligence someone who is Putin friendly at best or a Russian asset at worst. Joan, I was on the BBC this morning talking about this, and I uttered these words out loud. I said, you know, if I were an ally of America, if I were France or the UK, I'm not sharing intelligence with America. No way. I can't trust Gabbard. I can't trust Trump. So I'm not. And as I was saying those words on TV this morning, Joan, I thought, what am I saying? But yeah, if I'm in charge of French or UK intelligence, I'm not sharing intelligence with the United States of America because of this. I mean, that's scary.
Well, I think what you said is actually reasonable, and I can't imagine that there are countries who would share with us. I mean, it's in their own self-interest. We already know Donald Trump inappropriately shared intelligence when he was in the White House, putting Israeli operatives at risk. I mean, he can't be trusted. She can't be trusted. Why would anyone share intelligence with us?
They shouldn't and they won't. But again, what does this say about Donald Trump? Look, Tulsi Gabbard is compromised. Tulsi Gabbard, Joan, couldn't even right now get a security clearance passed, meaning Tulsi Gabbard right now couldn't get any job in our intelligence community because she couldn't get a security clearance. So the only job she can get is to be appointed to run the whole damn thing. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's frightening. Matt Gaetz is, you're talking about a head-on, full frontal attack on our justice system. Robert Kennedy Jr. is a pathological liar. He's a conspiracy spreader. He's a vaccine denier. And he will be in charge of health and services. Hey, baby, I'm not talking to you, Joan. Hey, America, you get the government you deserve. Enjoy this. Enjoy this.
Yeah. You know, people have said, when I've said something similar, you know, there are things that I'll go to the wall to protect. You know, I will go to the wall to protect Social Security and Medicare and some of the things that are the Affordable Care Act. But for a lot of this, mass deportations, you wanted them, maybe you get them. You know, maybe some of this we, as the Italians say, we're going to let them eat what they cooked, Joe. We're going to let them eat what they cooked.
I can only second what you just said, and it's mainly, Joan, because I was out there every day for 3 months killing myself to try to persuade people, and I got too many, Joe, I don't care about democracy, not right now. I want to make more money, and I got too much of that stuff, so I finally just said, it's yours. It's yours. It's yours then. It's yours.
So people felt that their livelihoods would be better under Trump. So if the rest of the country goes to hell, that's okay? That's the sense that you got?
Yes. Again, these are not the true believers. There are plenty of true believers who believe Like, for instance, January 6th was a patriotic day. I always get a lot of that. But I'd say half of Trump supporters just kind of shrugged their shoulder and said, yeah, Joe, January 6th wasn't good, and Trump's a really bad guy. But you know what? You know what? The economy was better. You know what? Blah, blah, blah. And they're wrong, by the way, Joan.
Yeah, they are wrong.
Every one of these people financially, all these Republican businessmen, Joan, who told me the economy was better, they're all doing better now than they were 4 years ago when Biden first got elected. Our economy is kicking ass. We've done better coming out of COVID than any other industrialized nation, and it's not even close, period. They're all making money with Biden in the White House, not Trump.
Do you think that if we let what they wanted to happen, that there will be a realignment come the midterms? Or do you think we are just lost for the foreseeable future?
Somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle. And by the way, Joan, what power do we have? I mean, and again, you and I have talked before, I'm not 40 years old anymore. Part of me, after everything I've been through the last 6 years and now this year, part of me wants to just walk away and, find my 40 acres and my 6 dogs and leave it up to young Americans, by the way, who didn't come out and vote like they should have. You want to save this country, it's yours. What can we do now? The Republicans have the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court. We can fight and resist from outside, but I don't. And by the way, we're not talking about the problems the Democratic Party has, which are real. I loved the campaign Kamala Harris ran. I place zero blame at her feet. I am pissed off to the high heavens at Joe Biden, a bitter old man with an ego who did the wrong damn thing. Biden deserves a lot of blame, but the Democratic Party deserves blame too. I'm done, Joan.
Don't be done. Don't be done, Joe. Take a vacation. Take a rest. Do a media blackout. Just keep posting on the social contract, which I enjoy very, very much. How many platforms do you broadcast that on?
Every single platform. Every single day, I yell and scream a little bit every day. But yeah, I need a rest. You need a rest. We all need a rest because we love this country, and we just lost a big battle. The fight goes on. But yeah, Joan, what you said at the top, they voted for this. Joan, it's not like the one thing was everybody I spoke to for 3 months, everybody knew who and what Trump was. Like, this is not a sheep in wolf's clothing. This was a wolf in wolf's clothing. Everybody walked into this thing knowing who he was. So maybe what you said at the top makes sense. You bought what he was selling knowingly.
Yep. Yeah, that's my concern. And I don't know. I come and I do this radio show every day, and like you, I thought that Kamala ran a great campaign. I thought she did everything right. I do think that aside from what Joe Biden might or might not have done, or what the Democrats might or might not have done, I think it's going to be really difficult to quantify how much racism and sexism rolled into the equation. I guess I leave that up to the political scientists who apparently have clever questions that they can ask you and get you to reveal whether or not you're a racist. But I just, I thought we were better than this, Joe. I thought there were more of us than there were of them, and that we were better than this. And I know it wasn't a landslide. It's looking now that it's barely over 1% of the vote. So maybe that is something that we should cling to. But, Joe, I thought we were better than this.
And every day I was out there, I'd hear people who said that. So I began to think we were as well. I would talk to Republicans who would tell me privately they're going to vote for her. So I began to feel like there was something here. She appealed to our better angels. He appealed to our ugliest demons, and fear won. It's a demagogue who lied to us, beat, sadly, a political party that just wasn't paying enough attention. I think the die was cast a while ago, and I don't think there's anything else Kamala Harris could have done. No,
I don't think so either. And I think she did everything right. She worked as hard as she could in the time that she had. And I was saying all along to the audience that I thought that there was going to be a silent Republican vote, but I thought that it was people who didn't want to admit they were voting for her and not Trump. I do think there was this big silent Republican majority, but unbeknownst to me, they were being silent about the fact that they supported Donald Trump. So, you know what? What do I know?
Well, you're right. So there was that. There also was a silent Republican thing for Harris. But then the other thing that wasn't measured was there was a Latino men thing for Trump. There was more women ended up voting for Trump than anybody thought. The Harris campaign was counting on a humongous gender gap, and it didn't materialize.
No, it did not. And, you know, I've been talking about the demographics because white men, Hispanic men, white women, particularly those without a college education, appear to be his strongest demographics. And that's just the data that's come in so far. But every time I talk about that, I get people saying, you're a racist. You're a racist. And we are not a racist country, you know, Joe, because we elected Barack Obama. So that proves we're not racist. Okay. Okay.
Or Joan, you're an elitist. I mean, that's just the data. College-educated people voted for her. People without a college degree voted for him. That's really the simplification. And that's flipped. When I went to Congress 10, 12 years ago, it was the exact opposite. So, again, and I've been preaching this now for 10 years, we're living in a populist moment. We've been in it for a while. Regular working-class people are pissed off about stuff. Trump demagogues them, but the Democratic Party hasn't paid enough attention to them. I think that's now something they've learned and they need to do something about.
Yep.
Hey, you know what's funny? This is one of the first times we're talking to you. You've brought me down. Usually I bring you down.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I love this.
I'm so sorry.
I love this.
I'm just, you know, I just had so much faith in women, and I really thought that this was going to be different, and it didn't turn out that way, and I'm clearly still grieving, Joe. I'm clearly still grieving.
You should, because, again, I'm making fun, but there's a big part of me that is, too. You and I adore and love this country, and we fear for this country now.
Yes, we do. Mr. Walsh, do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, because I don't want your voice going away anytime soon, okay?
Love you, Joan Esposito. Love you.
Love you, too. Always and forever. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.